let's start off with the problem of the day. Today's problem of the day seems pretty straightforward. It says to find the greatest common factor of 24, 32, and 48. Again, 24, 32, and 48. Looking for the GCF. That's what we sometimes like to call this thing, the GCF. And for those of you who weren't sure of that, that's what we call it, all right? So now, what we've got going here with this problem is 2, 3 numbers this time, not just looking at 2. If we were looking at 2 at a time, we'd probably come with a different GCF, all right? Depends on which 2, right? So let's take a look here. 24 and 48. Let's say we're just playing with 24 and 48. I already can tell you that 24 is a factor of 48. So 24 would be our greatest common factor. Well, that seems pretty large, but unfortunately 32 ain't going to go along with that ride. Now, if I look at 32 and 48, I notice that, 16 would go into both of those. You say, well, how'd you know that, Ernie? Well, just kind of played with those numbers a little bit. We're going to look at a way to take care of this one. And then the 24 and 38, the 24 and 32 seem to be where the hang-up is, where we're going to be able to isolate this greatest common factor, the GCF. So let's take a look at all 3 of them at the same time. I like doing it this approach. Just write them down at home if you're with me. 24, 32, 48, and I'm just going to swing a little line through there. What we're going to do is we're going to notice, first of all, my friends, we have even numbers all the way across there. That tells me we can start breaking these numbers down by 2. And so you say, well, Ernie, what if I can go higher? Go for it. All right, we're going to take it by 2. Since they're even, I'm going to make it easy for our viewers to follow along here. Because we can always divide by 2. We can always think of taking something, taking half of something. Half of 24 catches us with a 12. Half of 32, well, it's going to be 16. Ooh, that sounds like ounces in a pound, all right? And then last but not least down here, when we divide 2 into 48, get my mouth going here, 24 is what we come up with. And you know what? We're going to try again. Now, what's going on out here? These numbers are going to be important. Just don't lose them. Keep them out there. They're going to be important to us in the very end because they're what we're going to take and multiply to get to our final answer on this mess. And sometimes it looks like a mess, but you know what? It's getting cleaner and cleaner because we're getting smaller and smaller numbers. That's a whole good thing about this approach. I see even numbers again. Let's do it by 2. And 2 goes in there, what, 6 times? We got 8. Whew, still got 12. That meant we could probably taken 4 through there earlier. And let's see. We'll go one more time. They're all even. So here we go. 2. Now we're starting, boy, they're really getting small. We got a 3. We got 4. And we have 6. Now here's where we start looking at the situation. Yeah, 2 will go into, well, not 2 will go into 6, but it won't go into 3, but it will go into 4. So I could reduce by 2, but I've still got this 3 hanging on. Not very pretty. But we want to keep these all integers. So I look at 3 and 4. I know there's nothing else except 1 that'll go into there. And guess what? That's our whole storyline here. We're down to 1 and we're done. So let's look at the 3 numbers that pulled along here. We got 2 times 2 times 2, which gives us, oh, you know it gives us, oh, by the way, times 1. But you know what? Times 1 doesn't matter, does it? So, by the way, why did I put a 1 there? Because it's the greatest common factor of 3, 4, and 6. Sometimes when we get to that point, someone says, oh, it's nothing. Well, no, nothing is 0, and 0 is not a factor of these, all right, by any means. So the GCF there at 3, 4, and 6 is 1. So this is where we've got all those numbers there, and that's going to give us a final number of 8. Now, does 8 divide into 24? Yes, it does. Goes in there 3 times. Does 8 divide into 32? Well, how about that? It goes 4 times. Y'all get a connection here? 8 goes into 48 6 times. So that's the way. If we have big numbers here, and a lot of times we just break them down piece by piece, and once we get to a certain point, I dare say a lot of you probably started saying, oh, 4 will go into those right there, and you ended up right there at 3, 4, and 6. That's fine. You can go that route. I stretched it out a little bit, but I want you to see how easy finding the greatest common factor can be. Works very nicely there. And notice if we had done 8 to begin with, some of you may have done that. Oh, right off the bat, Ernie. You would have had 3, 8 into 32, 4, and you end up with 6 down there. So that's our story here on the greatest common factor on this outing. Answer is 8.